Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today. I hope you're all doing absolutely excellent, and if you are, I'm here to ruin your day because we're doing a tier list video. Surprise, surprise. Ladies and gentlemen, that means we have a lot of opinions to share, and I know many people on the internet don't like that. In fact, I've got 40 opinions to share with you because we've got 40 Bethesda games that we'll be running through here and now. It's been over 5 years since I've done one of these for Bethesda, and I enjoy me a good old tier list video. So let's get together, let's show up with some hot takes, and see how much we can disagree with one another. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, you're into what's going on with Bethesda, consider subscribing. I got to start it early here. We got to establish the S tier first and foremost. What defines S tier? It's peak fiction, and that is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle from Machine Games. Look, I feel like when publishers and developers get their hands on an established IP, like we've seen with Marvel, we've seen with DC, or like Harry Potter even, like we've seen it with so many popular IP that the quality is hit or miss because then business gets involved since there's so much potential with these tie-in style games. To see Bethesda get their hands on Indiana Jones, which we know was a dream of Todd Howard's, was exciting, but would they do it right? I feel like all the potential was there, but for them to go ahead and make this first-person, stealth-driven, immersive sim-style game that really puts you in the shoes of Indy rather than focusing on gunplay and action and explosions, which Indiana Jones and their movies are not really strangers to that sort of action. To see the game embrace the slower, more quiet side of being Indiana Jones, investigating, raiding tombs, inspecting artifacts, putting together pieces of the puzzle. It's a brilliant video game, in my opinion, from top to bottom. It could have been so much worse for starters, but the fact that Bethesda and Machine Games get their hands on an established IP and they go for the most authentic experience that builds off the movies in a faithful way and fits itself so well in there that it's a part of the Indiana Jones canon. Like, it fits beautifully in the timeline, builds off the movie before, leads wonderfully into the movie after, and I just am praying that Machine Games gets another chance to work on this beyond DLC because I think what they've got here is magical. So if we establish an S tier, I think it's also good to establish the other end of the spectrum in a D tier. Brink. I remember being so excited for Brink, man. Like when that was first announced and the art style, the co-op shooter element. I mean, especially during the 360 PS3 days where party chat was still new to me. Anything that had the tagline co-op in it was an immediate selling point. I was so excited about it. To know Bethesda was publishing one and it was this very different co-op style shooter, I was so about Brink. But when I saw those reviews start to pour in, oh boy, did my tune change and I took my money elsewhere. Brink was buggy, broken, boring, all the worst B's that you can be in a video game. And so for that, it earns itself a D tier. Now it's time to get into hot takes. As you'll see at the bottom here, I tried my best to organize all of these based on franchise or developer or the really random era where Bethesda was just publishing everything under the sun. And so let's get it started with a series that I can't even believe it got itself one game, let alone two. That's Rage. I love Rage 1. It's in the A tier for me. As a huge Fallout fan, as a Mad Max fan, as just a post-apocalyptic junkie, this probably doesn't surprise any of you that I like Rage this much. I think as time has gone on, it does find itself in one of those categories where if you were to play it nowadays, Rage would sort of sit with you in an area of, I've seen a lot of this before, but playing it, its fidelity, the way enemies reacted to bullets when you hit them in their shoulder or their leg and they topple over, it was so realistic, so reactive, that it really captured me on a gameplay front. Exploring its world was a real joy because you'd get your car and you'd upgrade your car and the car combat was sick. You'd get awesome gadgets and be able to interact with enemies that way. I thought this was a game that was really fun to trophy and achievement hunt in. I just had so much fun with Rage, and for years, I thought this was like an unsung hero in gaming. I just felt it deserved so much more attention. And a lot of people, whenever I talk about it with them, like, yeah, it was all right. I don't compute with it. I'm like, yeah, the story was buns, but otherwise, I thought the gameplay, the world, the mini games, the things you could unlock, the progression, like, I just thought it was really good. And so it's just this awesome one-off game using id Tech that I enjoyed. But then all of a sudden, a leak happened. Walmart Canada, thank you. because we get the confirmation of Rage 2. Rage 2 goes in the B tier for me. I feel like this game would bother a lot of people with its color palette nowadays. They'd be like, why is everything purple and pink nowadays? This was like the first game to really do it, but it kind of fit the punky, sort of rebellious spirit of Rage 2. It takes the gunplay that you'd find in Doom and the movement you'd find in Doom, but brings it to the Rage universe with crazier car combat, a crazier open world, a still bun story, a little more checklisty than I would have liked, which is why it kind of gets docked down a point, but still, like, it's a Rage sequel, and we'll probably never get one again, but I had so much fun with Rage 2. It reminded me, again, of the first Rage. It reminded me of Doom. It kind of reminded me of Just Cause as well. I had so much fun playing through this game, and it was definitely one of those experiences I cherish as a gamer, where as I'm going through it, I'm just thinking, holy shit, this is real, man. I can't believe Rage got a sequel. So yeah, I love the Rage series. I also love Wolfenstein. What we've got here is Wolfenstein, The New Order. This is S tier for me. Machine Games filling out the S tier slot. Don't mind if I do. I think this game is so impressive because you have to remember, now we know BJ Blazkowicz in a whole new light. But at the time, we didn't know what Wolfenstein The New Order would really be and what it was capable of delivering. We only knew Wolfenstein as the Nazi shoot-'em-up game, no real depth to its characters, just a fun first-person shooter. This game added so much depth to villain characters, to BJ's party, if you will, and the actual fight against the Nazis and what it meant to them. It humanized characters that previously we thought could never be humanized, and it is a way longer game than I ever anticipated. It also has some of the sickest set pieces and mission spaces of the entire series, I think. Going to the moon base where the Nazis are located and taking them out is an insane concept, but it's so fun. The progression with the skill system, very similar to what you get in Indiana Jones, I thought was also unique at the time. It still has Wolfenstein elements where you're going to find secrets in these levels. Like, I think compared to the rest of the series as a whole, Wolfenstein The New Order is so true to the core of the franchise while evolving it in meaningful ways. Wolfenstein 2, I gotta say, I would normally have had this in the A tier, but it gets in the B tier because there are elements of the story that I appreciated, and then I watched movies. As many of you know, I've been on a little bit of a movie journey these last, I'd say, 2 years, watching more and more of them. Inglourious Basterds was a movie that I was really not aware of at the time, and which I know, go ahead, make fun of me. But I've caught up a lot. And in catching up, I start to realize where some games are shameless copycats. And I feel like that milkshake scene, the tension it's trying to create in Wolfenstein 2, and many of its moments of dialogue in Wolfenstein 2 are trying really hard to be Inglourious Basterds. It does have a very sick plot twist, and I do appreciate how story-focused it is, but given the thin amount of gameplay and certain story segments not aging as well for me over the very long term, it does get moved from like that A tier area where I normally be like, I don't know what you all are talking about, to, all right, I kind of get you guys, but I still think this game is really awesome. I think it's in the B tier. I'm really happy with it. But it definitely symbolized a different style of Wolfenstein from what we got in New Order, which was less gameplay, honestly. And I do find that a little bit perplexing, but it would be nothing compared to what Wolfenstein Youngblood would put us through, effectively icing the series and forcing Machine Games into Indiana Jones, which worked out for the best. Wolfenstein Youngblood is probably one of the biggest D tiers on this list. I really don't like this game at all. I remember this was during Bethesda's real dark era, where they were going into this microtransaction live service bag, trying to keep their company afloat. As we know, they were about to close down until Xbox bought them. Fortunately, kept them in business, but oh my god, dude, Wolfenstein was such a casualty in all of these decisions because it just felt the most out of place. Like, it was co-op, the protagonists didn't really make sense. They're like BJ's daughters, and they had no strong purpose in the story. The writing was terrible, and so in turn, it was lacking any sort of emotional depth. It showed that BJ really is the heartbeat of this series. And then also getting Arcane involved on a co-developed area made the one redeemable aspect of this game be the level design. There was a little bit more verticality than what we were used to in prior Wolfenstein games. But eventually that wear thin is like repetitive levels would start to pop up. RPG elements were here in Youngblood, and it was also awful. Like, it just having enemies be bullet sponges in these games, where the previous 2 games would let you saw through enemies and upgrade your weapons unapologetically, it was just such a dramatic departure from everything that was great about the series. Now we get into the good stuff. Arcane, my beloved. At least at first, my beloved. All right, Dishonored 1. One of my favorite games ever. I love this game. I do wonder if my opinion on this one will change, though, because I am trying to explore more of the immersive sim genre in the next year or so. I got some games on the list that I need to get through, like System Shock or games like Thief, especially, which clearly inspired Dishonored. But Dishonored's like your first love, your first girl, right? Like, that's where Dishonored is for me. I'll always remember running through this game so many times in high school. Doing a Ghost playthrough was like my greatest achievement. I still celebrate myself for pulling off the Ghost playthrough. But just the idea of choice and consequence and multiple endings and multiple ways to approach these missions and all these levels being sandboxes, and actually Redfall, as we'll talk about in a little bit, forcing me into a replay of this game. I just adore Dishonored 1 still to this day. And I do think the story is more heartfelt than it gets credit for. Really like the story of Dishonored and that art style. The city of Dunwall. Just like, it is so incredible, Dishonored. Equally incredible, Dishonored 2. I can keep this one short. It's Dishonored 1, but bigger, better, more complex, more powers, more abilities, 2 playable characters. That means that you got like a total of 4 endings, depending on how chaotic you get in your playthrough, how many people you kill. Then just, the game blows my mind. Again, the level design in this game is unbelievable. So I just got to put love on Dishonored here. A lot of S tier going around, I know, but seriously, I think these games are that good. Dishonored, Death of the Outsider, I actually throw in the C tier nowadays. I think it's a really good game that wraps up the Dishonored story in an honorable way. I do have an issue with how they get rid of like the chaos system, though. You either are low chaos or high chaos. This kind of determines your ending. Since Dishonored Death of the Outsider is more of a narrative experience, it still has Dishonored gameplay you love. It doesn't have the world reacting to you as much, so there's not too much consequence for, say, going off the rails and just being insane and being evil. So I do like Dishonored Death of the Outsider, but it's not aged as favorably in my eyes outside of the story, which I do think is worth playing if you care about where Dishonored's story is going. And it is one of the few series that managed to put itself in a spot where when they iced it and when they stepped away from it, it was like, okay, I really miss it, but at least there's a sense of it being concluded as a small standalone 6-hour experience where I can walk away feeling satisfied knowing there may never be Dishonored again. Although there was on that Bethesda document Dishonored 3, so who knows? Prey. This S tier area is getting very crowded, but look, Prey is phenomenal. I think Prey I was a little hard on, as I talked about when I reviewed it, but it shares a lot of the qualities of Dishonored 1 and 2 in the terms of just being a great immersive sim. It rewards your creativity a ton with the glue gun. I argued that it's a much better written game than Dishonored, although the argument part kicks in when I talk about the ending, which I found the ending of Prey to be a little bit lackluster. I think I'm due for a replay of that game, but also Prey Mooncrash just shoots this thing into the stratosphere. Prey Mooncrash is like one of the best expansions you'll ever experience in a video game, and the fact that that's just here with Prey on its own as a phenomenal immersive sim, it's a tragedy this game did not do as well as it should have. It is excellent. Deathloop. This is a kind of iffy area for me. I talk, as you see here, 1, 2, 3 S tier Arcane games in a row. I talk very highly of Arcane. And ultimately, I think Deathloop falls in the same company as Death of the Outsider for me. I know this is a hot take for people because I saw the reviews and people love Deathloop. I'll say the same thing to y'all that I said to my co-host of Defining Duke, Lord Cognito. Play Dishonored, play Prey, come talk to me afterwards, because I think Deathloop is a very stylish game. Very much love the world of Deathloop, love how it connects itself a bit to Dishonored. I thought the ending was really whack. I thought the writing was a huge downgrade. I thought the level exploration and overall design was a huge downgrade. It was not nearly as open as I expected for a PS5 exclusive game. I thought the multiplayer element of it did not really live up to my personal hype. And overall, my creativity and exploring this time loop and breaking it down felt much more on rails than what was marketed to me as. And so I found that combined with the broken AI at launch to be a very disappointing game from Arcane, which, again, a lot of people lit me up for it. Don't care, but I'm just telling y'all that this is a game that I think could have been way better. And even with the Golden Loop Edition, I know it gets a little bit better, but I still don't view Deathloop as favorably as other Arcane games because you see the gap. It's like tremendous here. But I was very hard on Deathloop for a while. Then Redfall comes along and I go, okay, Arcane can actually go a tier lower than this. What hasn't been said about Redfall? This really set off a chain reaction of decisions at Xbox alone. It was that catastrophic of a game, and it is the lowest rated Xbox game this generation, and rightfully so. Redfall is a cool premise. Like, I love vampire stuff, so I was really into what this game was doing. I was immediately hesitant, though, when I saw it was more action-focused. I was immediately hesitant when I saw it was co-op driven. I regret lightening up on the game because when I played it, that review was like a breakdown for me. I literally remember saying in that review so many times, what happened? And I still don't know what happened. Doom 2016 goes in the A tier from me. Love the storytelling in this game. I love the way it's delivered, the amount of lore. I know it's not the first thing you say about a Doom game, but like, seriously, it deserves kudos. It's excellent in Doom 2016, as we'll get into other games in the series where it just makes no sense. I think Doom 2016 does a really good job of that. Its gameplay for its time was riveting. I think the carrot at the end of the stick was just right, always giving you like a new tool, a new toy to play with. I love the setting of Mars and going down into hell. Like, the game has such a cool factor to it. And it also did what Bethesda is becoming known for as a publisher, taking these OG first-person shooters like a Wolfenstein or now a Doom and reinventing them in a way that retained the core of those older games while still evolving them in meaningful ways. So that brings me to Doom Eternal. It just takes that formula, which was, after you play Doom Eternal, Doom 2016 feels really slow. I love the race car speed of Eternal. I love the first-person platforming of Eternal. The amount of guns you have in Eternal is absurd. The amount of ways you can take down enemies in Eternal is also absurd. Like, it is just, to me, a perfect first-person shooter. Like, it just doesn't get much better than that. The only thing that can bring it down to the A tier is battle mode, but it's like, look, everything in the single-player department of Doom Eternal just overrides any issues I really have with the game. Whereas Doom the Dark Ages, as I said in my review, B tier. This is a game that I sort of look at more as if you're the worst of this trio, you're still really good. I think Doom the Dark Ages is definitely, in my eyes, the weakest of the bunch. I'm a little tired of every game going into parrying and stun gauges. I just think it's a little bit boring, a little bit tired. But that aside, even just Doom the Dark Ages wasn't as fun to explore for me. Wasn't as fun to take down enemies. The glory kills are gone. And I know a lot of people fall into the kind of talking points that id puts out there of like, every Doom game is different. But when Doom 2016 starts something and Eternal evolves it, I don't know if that's necessarily two completely separate experiences. Just that one carries the baton from the other. And it feels like we sidestep a bit with Doom the Dark Ages. It's a great way to end the series, but I'm ready for it to do something different. Here's a fun one, Elder Scrolls Travels. It's a D tier thing because it's really not good at all. Did you know Bethesda did flip phone Elder Scrolls games? No? Well, I'm here to tell you about it. So they did that like 3 or 4 times. There's like Dawnstar, Shadow Key on the Nokia N-Gage. It's crazy and it's not great, but they try to bring the Elder Scrolls experience on the go and it's at like 5 frames a second. It's crazy. I've played it and would not recommend. What I would recommend though is Morrowind. Come on, baby. Come on. It's Morrowind. We know this is the game that saved Bethesda Game Studios. It deserves infinite respect for that. It is about as hardcore of an RPG as you can get in the console space, and also as hardcore as you can get while being extremely popular. It's funny how we've kind of come full circle where more hardcore games nowadays are doing explosively well, and Morrowind was sort of that moment for Bethesda. It was unapologetic in what it had to be. I mean, everything from the writing to the navigation to combat to leveling up. Like, this game is hardcore. It's one of the few BGS games I've never beat before, and it's because it's pretty tough, and also it tries my patience a lot, but it's also excellent. I recognize what it does for the industry, what it did for Bethesda, and also I love firing up. I have a lot of great memories playing it as a kid. Elder Scrolls Online. Now, I would put this in a Elder Scrolls conversation as I did over on Retro Rebound in the S tier. Overall, Bethesda publishing, A tier. It started off a little bit rough, but the recovery has been remarkable. I think Elder Scrolls Online did a lot of what 76 wished it could have done at launch, and has sort of found its way, but still not really. Elder Scrolls Online to me is a game that I don't have a problem handing to a first-time Elder Scrolls fan and being like, hey, you want to experience Elder Scrolls? Like, you can start here, and then you can go into Skyrim, or you can go into Oblivion Remastered, or you can go to Morrowind. Like, I feel it really translates that single-player experience well. It's one of the few MMOs that I play by myself, and I play it every now and again, and I feel like the game is well-suited for me. If you're like an endgame player, I'm sure you have your own suite of issues, but I just don't play MMOs like that. And even when I grinded games like RuneScape as a kid, never played them like that. I'm always there for the adventure, the journey, the story. And I think ESO, with its incredible schedule, just does that really well. Oblivion, A tier. What's there to say here? Where it gets interesting, we'll jump ahead a little bit, is Oblivion Remastered. So, classic Oblivion, you've got one of the most unbelievable open world games for a team size of, like, I think 100 at the time this game was made. It might have been even less than. I think 100 was around the time they did Skyrim. But Oblivion has hundreds of locations, and especially when you play the remaster and you start to remember, like, wow, this game was a lot more reactive and let you just tackle quests a lot more dynamically, but also at the same time, the world came to you super often. Like, it would run up to you with new quests, new reactions, that sort of thing. It's an unbelievable video game. Oblivion Remastered is A tier because it's pretty much everything Oblivion did, but looks better. But that performance, man, still unfortunately have my Oblivion playthrough shelved until they fix the performance and the crashing. So it's a bummer, but it's Oblivion that you know and love, much better looking, but my God, it runs like ass. All right, Skyrim, S tier. The beginning of Mr. Matty, so I'm biased here, no doubt about it, but my gosh, dude. I can play this game every day of the week if I wanted to. It is timeless to me. And I think timeless is near impossible to find nowadays. Even games I love like Expedition 33, I finish and I kind of put on the shelf. But there's very few games on a list for me that just call me back infinitely like Skyrim does. And because of that adventurous spirit and also the build options you have, the charm of the game, the music, of course, it is just the perfect open world game to me. I love Skyrim. I don't love Elder Scrolls Blades. Bethesda's mobile run needs to be studied because when you make something like Fallout Shelter and you follow it up with Blades, I don't know what the hell happened. But yeah, Blades is a game that could have been great. I feel bad for Elder Scrolls fans because between Skyrim and Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered, you got a lot of trash. This is one of them. Just town building stuff like, oh, what's this? Elder Scrolls Castles. You just copy and pasted Fallout Shelter. You go in the D tier. What happened to the mobile division, man? It used to be so great when we had Fallout Shelter, but maybe that was just a flash in the pan moment. But I just really had such high hopes and aspirations for how Bethesda could tie in their mobile gaming with their console games, and Shelter was the perfect example of that. So let's go ahead and throw Shelter in here. It's B tier. It is an awesome video game. I spent a lot of... Actually, I'm sorry. I think it's kind of A tier when I think about it more and more. Like, I put a lot of time into Shelter, a lot of times. And also, I feel like its monetization was very friendly. Like, I really spent little money on it when I first started playing, and I only spent more on it because I felt bad I was playing it for free. And that's crazy to say about a game that is arguably the most lucrative Bethesda game ever, which is also hilarious when you look at this entire list here. The Evil Within 1. This is A tier to me. Like, that 2014... kind of publish and run for Bethesda, I think it is incredible. You know, this is where we got Evil Within 1, we got Wolfenstein, like that era of Bethesda publishing, I just remember so well, the pre-Fallout 4 days. Evil Within is, I mean, it's from Shinji Mikami, and it's so similar to Resident Evil 4 in its campiness, but also it's like action and survival horror mix. The gameplay is really tense, the boss fights are excellent, and the story I thought was really great. The game is creepy. I don't know. I remember seeing the reviews for Evil Within, and I still see them to this day. And the way people talk about it, I just don't get it. People lost their mind over the black bars, which are gone. You can remove them now if you want to. But people lost their minds over the black bars. They're like, I can't play this game. I'm like, dude, if my biggest problem with the game is a bar at the top of the screen, the bottom of the screen, that is a wonderful thing to have. Like, because every game's got its issues. And if that's the only problem I got, pretty good stuff there. But I love this game. I think about it so often, and I'm really due for a replay of it. Evil Within 2. Normally, I think I'd put this in like the C tier, but I think I was a little harsh on this game. I really do like Evil Within 2. It's a game that, it is a huge departure from what I loved of Evil Within 1, kind of going for Last of Us style gameplay, but they really hung with it over at Tango, right? Like they had a game here that they just kept chipping away at, adding like a first person mode, adding more survival horror mechanics to it to kind of like make it more intense for people like me who are complaining. And overall, the final package compared to what I reviewed at launch is really different. Also, the cutscene presentation is really good. Sebastian actually talks in this game. I kind of like that he was a little bit more silent, but he's actually a character here. So for a lot of people, this is an improvement. For me, it's a bit of a downgrade, but I still appreciate it a lot more long term than I originally did. Ghostwire Tokyo. Haven't finished this one, to be fair, but I'm going to put it in the B tier to be a little bit safe. First person animations go crazy in this game. I love the kind of creepy style games of what Tango does. I'm going to sorely miss it in the Xbox Game Pass library. But nonetheless, just the combat and the animations of this game really light my fire. Exploring this kind of like Tokyo-like location, but it's very supernatural with ghosts and whatnot. I got to finish this one because I think my opinion of it might improve, but I've enjoyed what I've played it so far, and I think B tier is a pretty safe area to have it. Hi-Fi Rush. Get in the S tier. Tango, get in the S tier. Come on now. What a pleasant surprise. Of course, we all have the great memories of the Shadow Drop for Hi-Fi Rush, but also Hi-Fi Rush was just like an incredibly good action game, and it was a complete tone shift from what Tango had done before. We had this rhythm-based DMC style game, and it was awesome. The support attacks you can call in from your teammates were also awesome. The art style is beautiful. The world, I need more Hi-Fi Rush, and no doubt we're going to get more of it, but I just love this game. Love the boss fights, love the music, love the vibe of it. Just an incredible story here, and the fact that they almost got shut down after this is a sin, man. But it's also a sin to tell a lie. Fallout 3. I'm not even going to say anything. I've talked about this game so much now. S tier. New Vegas, same deal. S tier. Fallout 4. Come on, let's talk. So many people with my Fallout 4 takes act like I have committed the cardinal sin here. I know, you're looking at it like, it's with New Vegas? That, ugh, heinous. But look, Fallout 4's got that same pull that Skyrim and Fallout 3 and New Vegas have to me. Like, I can just play that game whenever, anytime, anywhere. I love Fallout 4. I play very differently from other Fallout games. I think I understand what it's trying to be more than, frankly, I think most people did when they played it. And I know I'm Mr. Near Perfect. But hey, I'll fucking say it again, dude. Don't dare me. Fallout 4 is a game that is about hope, about rebuilding. And I think it matches its themes really well. I think the move to a voice protagonist was not a good decision. I also did like the idea of a sort of one-off mode with the settlement building. I did not realize in 76 and Starfield it would turn into a consistent feature. But nonetheless, Fallout 4 is still like a great time for me. It's just like a open world first-person shooter with light RPG elements. And I love the world of Fallout. I love the characters in this game. I think it has really great moments with its companions, whether it be like Nick Valentine or Piper. I just really adore this game. And it has some of the best DLC I think Bethesda's done when it comes to Far Harbor and Nuka World. 76, C tier. You normally D tier, you've upgraded. It's still not everything I love. It's had some really good updates as of late. Wastelander was a good turnaround. But since we last talked about 76, it has come a long way. I have to be honest. It's still not in that ESO category. Like Elder Scrolls Online, I think really takes the single player Elder Scrolls experience and translates it well into an online space. I think part of the reason it does that is because its universe allows it. Fallout, it's still super jarring to me to see like other players running and jumping around and buildings being erected in the middle of the wasteland. It just feels too much like a playground to me where I can't fully detach myself from it. At the same time, Fallout 76 has managed to recover a lot with some of its subsequent updates, focusing on storytelling and choice and consequence and characters, which is something I really know the franchise for. I don't think I'll ever be the daily player I wished I could be for 76 and just getting my dosage of Fallout every couple of months. It's a game that when I fire it up, I still get like a little bit bummed out. I'm like, man, like we're still hanging with this thing, but it's come a long way as I more intelligently broke down in my re-review of the game after the Fallout TV show came out. It may not be the Fallout game for everyone. I'm one of those people, but I think it has improved a lot, and I give it a tip of the cap for that. So now we get to the fun one, Starfield. I've talked many times about how Starfield, to me, is out of the Bethesda pantheon of Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and Starfield, the worst that they've done in the terms of their franchises. Like, it's the least appealing to me. For that, it's in the B tier. Like, I can't confidently say A tier I don't think it's bad to be in the C tier or the D tier. It sits in the middle, which is not, as you can see, what I know Bethesda Game Studios for. I know them for at least the A tier, so it's a little weird. But yeah, Starfield, like, I enjoy its factions. I enjoy its quest lines, but it's really hard to find something to do in Starfield. It's a tough game to play. You have to go to the content. Whereas I talk about what's the common thread with all these Bethesda Game Studios games I just talked about, even in Fallout 4, the game comes to you. That continuous reactive world growing before your eyes is such a captivating element of everything they've done before. Starfield was a solar system, and you had ships flying to you, or you're on planets and people are coming to you. I feel like Bethesda would have had something here, but instead they tried to adapt the spacefaring experience into a Bethesda game when I think it should have kind of been the opposite. Bethesda should have bent their design rules more to fit Starfield, and I think the game would have been better off for it. But still, I really enjoyed the main quest line of Starfield, which I know a lot of people don't agree with. I did like it a lot, though. But especially with Shattered Space, you could argue, I'm ignoring that. That could bring it down to a C tier, where it's like, man, the follow-up for this game has been crazy bad. But I'm going to give them time, because as I'm recording this, there hasn't been the second expansion that we still think is coming. I want to see how they can recover from that. But I could see a world where Starfield, just base game and DLC combined, finds itself in the C tier. For now, it is in the B tier. Now we get to a fun era of really random Bethesda games that they published. Everything from Wet all the way to like a horse racing game. Wet is a really good time. I put it in the A tier. It's such a random DMC-like game. Sword fighting and gun usage and parkour and slow motion in midair, like rotating and shooting, wall running. It's crazy stylish, crazy fun. I think Wet is another one that goes with like Rage 1 as a just supremely overlooked video game. So I adore it. Hunted Demon's Forge. This is like C tier for me. Like it's a 360-ass 360 game, man. Like it really is. It's a co-op game, very Gears of War-esque, like very much Bethesda being a follower. Like, oh, this is what y'all like. All right, let's try this with this kind of fantasy universe, and it's a good time. Like I don't regret playing it, but it's definitely out of like Bethesda's ability to publish great stuff. It's in that lower rung with like a Brink and so on. Elder Scrolls Legends. I'm between a D and a C on this one. I really don't like any Elder Scrolls spin-offs, if I'm honest with you. I know this is pretty harsh, but I played Legends very little. At least Elder Scrolls Blades and Castles, I can say I put some time into, but like Legends, I just could not get into. It just, again, I don't like when Bethesda, you see what happens when Bethesda tries to be a follower. They find themselves in their worst positions when they try to be someone else they're not. And Legends was that. They're like, oh, card games, microtransactions, like let's do Elder Scrolls after Skyrim and Skyrim Special Edition, like let's keep milking this fan base. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, like it's a tie-in game of the PS2 era. Like the reviews are pretty bad for it, but like it's all right, you know. I love the Pirates movies, but you know, it's like a PS2 era tie-in game. You know, you know what you're getting into with that. Quake Champions, remember this one? C tier. Yeah, like cool idea on paper to bring like all these Quake characters together and then start adding Bethesda IP in. So like BJ Blazkowicz shows up as a playable character, and we started speculating like, could the Dovahkiin show up? Like, how could Bethesda make this really interesting here? They never got that far. The game got shut down pretty quickly, but Quake Champions, like what I played of it was a good time. I enjoyed it. I remember trying to get into like strafing and jump shotting and whatnot, trying to be good at these types of FPS games, which I am not. Star Trek Conquest. I'm not like a Trekkie, and these games are all right though. You know, RTS style games. You know, Bethesda helped publish 4 of these things all in like a couple of years span. Like they were big on Star Trek and just went in, saturated the market with Star Trek games, and then got out. And the last one is horse racing game. You just watch these horses race, dude. It's crazy. But ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. There is the Bethesda tier list for 2025. Overall, pretty even spread here. And what I can say looking at it is, generally speaking, Bethesda has always been a pretty good publisher. As of late, there's a couple of recent games in here. You know, you have your Youngblood, Redfall, Blades, Castles, 76, Deathloop, and Dishonored Death of the Outsider. Like, these are all pretty recent games, all things accounted for. Most of what I love about Bethesda feels pretty distant for the most part, outside of like an Indiana Jones or an Oblivion remaster. You know, some of these feel pretty far off. So, ladies and gentlemen, I leave it to you now. What do you think of my tier list? And of course, let me know some of your favorite or least favorite Bethesda games down below. Other than that, I'll catch you in the next one. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.